Hello there, and welcome to Slumber Documentaries, where the night moves slowly, curiosity drifts gently, and questions are allowed to unfold at their own quiet pace. Tonight, we're not going to travel to ancient cities or lost civilizations. Instead, we're going to stay right here in the familiar world, the world we live in every day, and imagine something almost impossible. What if, in a single moment, without warning, without cause, without even a chance to prepare, electricity simply disappeared? Not the grid failing, not a blackout, not a storm taking down power lines. I mean electricity itself gone everywhere, instantly. The force that runs through wires, nerves, machines, systems, circuits, storms, screens, and even the cells inside your body, suddenly vanishing from the world. What would happen in that first second? What would the world feel like in that first hour? What would humanity become in the days, the months, the years after? Tonight, we're going to drift through that imagined world together, slowly, quietly, step by step, not as a disaster story, not as panic or fear, but as a soft exploration of a world falling gently into silence. Where would the lights fade? What would the night sound like? What would happen to cities, to people, to memories, and everyday life? And what might rise in the quiet that follows? Before we go there, take just a moment to notice where you are. The room you're in, the dim glow of a screen, the little hum of a device nearby. All of it powered by electricity, the invisible companion you never see, but depend on constantly. That quiet partner has been with you every day of your life. Every lamp, every phone call, every message, every meal heated in an oven, every streetlight, every passing car, every clock on every wall. It is the constant background pulse of the modern world. And now, slowly, gently, we're going to imagine that pulse going silent. Not with drama, not with alarm, but with the same softness you feel when slipping into sleep. A slow dimming, a quiet pause, a breath held by the world. Imagine for a moment you are outside at night, anywhere you'd like. A small town, a big city, a quiet rural road. It doesn't matter. The air is calm. The world is ordinary. And then, in an instant so small, it doesn't even feel like a moment, everything electrical ceases to exist. No flicker, no warning, just stillness. Lights blink out. Screens go dark. Engines stop. Traffic signals fade. The world exhales into an unexpected quiet so deep, you can almost feel it settle across rooftops and roads. It's not panic, it's not confusion, it's a pause. The kind of pause that makes everyone look up just for a moment, as if expecting to hear something, but hearing nothing at all. And then, for the first time in generations, the night becomes truly dark. Stars appear that haven't been visible in decades. The sky stretches out, wide and patient, showing its full depth, as though it's been waiting, above cities, above suburbs, above little towns. The disguise of light pollution falls away, and the universe reveals itself all at once. Some people gasp softly. Some simply stare. Some rush outside without knowing why. Something in the brain recognizes that this darkness is different, deeper, older, more natural. In that first hour, you can almost imagine humanity holding its breath, phones that won't turn on, cars that won't start, elevators resting between floors, the hum of refrigerators fading into silence, the quiet tap of cooling metal in machines now lifeless, and everywhere the sound of nothing electrical. For some, it would feel eerie, for others strangely peaceful, the kind of stillness that feels ancient, like the world stepping backward through time. And as that first hour drifts into a second, people would begin to speak in softer tones. They'd wonder, they'd speculate. They'd check breakers, flip switches, try to reboot what cannot reboot. But the truth would sink in slowly, gently. The way a realization sometimes arrives, not with urgency, but with acceptance. Something fundamental is missing. And as the night deepens, the world becomes something it hasn't been in a very, very long time. A planet lit only by fire and stars. It's here, in this strange, quiet moment, that our journey truly begins. Not in collapse, but in a stillness so complete it feels like the earth has paused to think. In the next part of our story, we'll walk gently through the first day. What people do, what stops, what continues. and how life begins to shift as the world adjusts to a strange new calm. Just let your mind loosen a little, breathe a little slower, and drift with me into this electricity. Less world, where everything familiar begins to soften around the edges. As the first night without electricity deepens, the world begins to feel different in ways that can't quite be explained. There is a texture to the darkness that most people alive have never experienced. A depth, a quiet weight in the air. The kind of darkness that presses gently against windows and rooftops, reminding everyone that night, in its natural state, is not flat but layered, almost alive. People light candles, lanterns, flashlights that briefly flicker and then fade as their batteries offer their final moments of service. The glow is warm, flickering, small, human light, fragile compared to the artificial brilliance we're used to. Some find comfort in it, others feel unsettled. But everyone notices how the shadows move differently now, softer around the edges, drifting with the quiet rhythm of firelight rather than the crisp, white glare of LEDs. And in that quiet, conversations become slower. Voices drop to hushed tones. People gather together simply because togetherness feels more natural when the world is dim. Isolation was easy before. A pair of earbuds, a glowing screen, a soft hum of machines everywhere. But now, in this sudden stillness, people drift toward each other instinctively, as though the darkness itself encourages connection. Outside, cities look almost unrecognizable. Skyscrapers vanish into silhouette. Streets fall into long stretches of shadow, broken only by an occasional moving flame, someone walking with a candle or a small lantern cupped in their hands. For the first time in many lifetimes, the true shape of a city at night reveals itself. A place without edges, without neon, without glow, just structures resting in the quiet. By the time dawn approaches, the world feels as though it has slipped into a dream. Soft light begins to fill the horizon, gray first, then pale blue. Sunlight, not electricity, becomes the source of illumination for the morning. Windows brighten naturally, slowly, gently. Birds continue their songs, unaware that anything has changed. The world of nature doesn't notice the absence, only humanity does, and as people wake, some confused, some curious, some still half hopeful that power will simply return, the quiet realization begins to settle in. The day will move forward, but without electricity. It will move differently, not dramatically, not catastrophically, but noticeably. You might imagine yourself stepping outside into that first morning. The air feels the same, but the atmosphere feels different, as though the world has shed a layer of noise. You can hear more. Footsteps on pavement, leaves brushing in the wind, someone calling softly from a nearby porch. The world has more textures when machines stop humming. People begin gathering in small clusters, talking about what's happened. They compare notes. Their phones remain dark. Their cars remain silent. Their appliances don't respond. Yet the sun rises just the same, casting long shadows across streets that suddenly feel wider without the presence of traffic. Some try to continue their routines. They walk to work. They stand at bus stops. They check watches that no longer tick. Habits guide them for a while until the truth breaks through those routines, like morning light through gaps in a curtain. Offices are dark. Stores are closed. Machines that run everything from water pumps to cash registers to trains are still and silent. And slowly, gently, the world begins to drift away from its usual pattern. There is no panic, not yet, just uncertainty. A softness to the day, as though everyone is waiting for something that doesn't arrive. A collective pause shared across continents. Humanity feels suddenly smaller, more fragile, more aware of how much it depended on an invisible force no one ever sees. But as morning turns to afternoon, something surprising happens. People begin to adjust. It's almost instinctive. The human mind, after all, has lived far longer without electricity than with it. Most of history unfolded in candlelight, in firelight, in moonlight. Something old stirs, a quiet resilience, a memory of how to exist without wires and screens. Neighbors introduce themselves. They help one another move food from refrigerators before it spoils. They share stoves that still work on gas, gathering outside to cook meals in the open air. Children run freely through neighborhoods, puzzled but excited. sensing that something unusual is happening, but not yet understanding what it means. And the world slowly begins to wake up to the idea that this is not a temporary inconvenience. It is a sudden shift in how life will unfold. As the first day drifts toward evening, a gentle tiredness spreads through communities. Without screens, without clocks, without glowing reminders of productivity, people feel the natural rhythm of energy waning with the sun. Work becomes limited to daylight. Movement becomes limited to what can be done by foot. Everything that once felt urgent begins to loosen and drift away. And then night falls again. This night is different from the first. It feels heavier, more real. People gather earlier. Fires burn in yards, porches, parks, small circles of warmth and conversation. The stars appear once more, brilliant and sharp in the dark sky. Some people look up and see constellations they've never noticed. Others simply breathe in the quiet of a world slowed down. There's something ancient about this night, something almost sacred. It feels like humanity is returning to a way of existing that it once knew deeply, even if the memory has faded. And as we drift deeper into the second night, we'll begin to explore what happens next, not in panic, not in collapse, but in the slow, quiet reshaping of society, of habits, of relationships, and of the rhythm of life itself when electricity is no longer part of the world. As the second night settles over the world, something subtle begins to shift within people. The novelty has faded, the uncertainty remains, but beneath both of those, a quiet understanding begins to grow. This isn't going to resolve quickly. The first day was full of questions. Small discoveries, improvised solutions. The second night carries a weight of acceptance, not heavy or frightening, but steady, grounding, like a gentle hand on the shoulder reminding everyone that life, somehow, will go on. The darkness feels less intrusive now. Your eyes begin to adapt more quickly. Shapes become clearer in the glow of the moon. The soft, wavering light of candles doesn't feel strange anymore. It feels natural, even comforting. You notice how firelight makes the walls of your home seem warmer, how faces look calmer, how silence settles more easily between conversations. Across the world, people drift into sleep earlier than they have in years. Without the glow of screens, the distractions of endless information, the little dopamine sparks of notifications and messages, the brain simply winds down with the sun. Even those who usually stayed awake long into the night feel their bodies urging them toward rest. Sleep comes more easily, dreams come more gently. Humanity's internal clocks begin to reset themselves to rhythms older than civilization. And when the next morning arrives, something else is different. The world wakes slowly. People stay in bed a little longer without alarms to jolt them awake. They rise with the light, not with schedules. For a moment, there is peace in that. A quiet relief from the constant ticking of the digital age. The concept of time itself begins to feel softer, less rigid, less commanding. Outside, the streets are calm. People emerge into the morning with a kind of tentative curiosity. They notice things they've never paid attention to. The patterns of birdsong, the slow drift of clouds, the sound of footsteps echoing through the early light, without motors, without engines. Without the electric pulse that once hid the subtler voices of the world, nature reclaims a little more of the morning. In some towns, local officials gather in community centers to speak with residents, using megaphones or simply projecting their voices. They offer what little information they have, not from screens, not from wires, but from person to person. Conversations ripple through crowds as neighbors share what they know. The absence of certainty becomes something shared, not feared. There is comfort in hearing others say the same thing. We don't know yet, but we're here, together. Food begins to shift from something bought to something prepared. Refrigerators are warm now, and people cook what would otherwise spoil. The smell of meals drifts through neighborhoods, soup simmering over gas flames, bread rising by sunlight-warmed windows, vegetables grilled over open fires, meals shared on porches and sidewalks. For the first time in a long time, eating becomes a communal act. People trade ingredients. They offer leftovers. They gather around warmth not because they must, but because it feels right. As the sun moves across the sky, you might imagine yourself watching the world adjust in subtle ways. Cars abandoned by the roadside become landmarks. People walk paths they used to drive. Workplaces remain dark, quiet. Still, some businesses open their doors simply to provide a place for conversation, not commerce. Libraries with windows big enough to let light spill across their tables become gathering spots again, as though returning to their original purpose. And slowly, humanity begins to remember skills it had forgotten. Gardens appear in yards. Seeds saved in drawers become valuable. People begin to dig, to plant, to water. Those who once treated gardening as a hobby suddenly find themselves teaching neighbors how to tend soil, how to recognize plants, how to preserve food in ways that do not rely on refrigeration. Old knowledge resurfaces like gentle echoes of generations past. At the same time, questions expand in the back of everyone's minds. When will water stop running from taps? When will fuel supplies run out? When will hospitals run out of what they need? But these questions remain quiet murmurs for now, because people still hope the world will find a way to fix the problem, even if no one knows how. As day turns to evening again, small groups gather in open spaces. Some sit on blankets in parks to watch the sunset, something they haven't done in years. Others sit on rooftops or front steps, letting the cool air settle around them. Conversations drift in gentle waves. Memories, stories, shared experiences, uncertainties. Without music players, without televisions, without the constant flow of media, people begin talking in ways they had forgotten. Slowly, the world grows intimate again. And then the darkness comes, earlier than anyone expects, because without electric lights, dusk stretches longer, feels fuller, becomes its own event. People watch the sky shift from gold to blue to deep indigo, as stars emerge one by one. The Milky Way appears clearly even over cities, a soft, luminous river brushing across the night. Children point upward, amazed, seeing more stars in one night than they've seen in their entire lives. Time moves differently without artificial light. Night becomes a place to rest, not a place to work. The world breathes more slowly in the dark. By the third day, something else begins to take shape, a pattern, a rhythm. People move with the sun, not against it. They wake when it rises. They accomplish what they can while it shines. They gather when it sets. It feels unfamiliar, but not wrong. In fact, it feels strangely natural, as though a layer of tension has slipped quietly away. You might imagine yourself walking through this world as it transforms around you. The smell of smoke from small cooking fires. The laughter of children playing games that require no screens or buttons. The murmur of neighbors greeting each other by name. The quiet hum of a society learning how to soften without falling apart. And beneath all of this, beneath the surface of daily life, a deeper shift begins. People start rediscovering how capable they are when the world slows down. They fix tools, they mend clothing, they learn knots, simple machines, ways to store food, ways to make light from oil or wax. The human mind begins to stretch into old shapes, shapes that feel both forgotten and familiar. The world has not collapsed. It has simply changed, slowed. And as we continue drifting through this imagined reality, the next part of this journey will take us deeper into what life feels like weeks and months after electricity disappears. Not with panic, not with chaos, but with the quiet, gradual transformation of a civilization learning to move at the pace of the natural world once again. As the days slip quietly into weeks, the world settles into a rhythm that feels both unfamiliar and strangely ancient. The absence of electricity no longer feels like a sudden shock. It feels like a slow tide that has washed over everything, reshaping routines, priorities, and expectations in ways no one could have imagined before it happened. The initial uncertainty softens into something steadier. The fear of the unknown becomes a quieter, more patient curiosity. You might imagine yourself stepping outside into one of these later mornings. The air carries the scent of damp soil, wood smoke, and something faintly metallic from old wires that now serve no purpose. The world is quieter than ever, but the quiet no longer feels empty. It feels full of activity that no longer hides behind noise. You can hear conversations traveling across yards, footsteps moving through gravel, tools tapping rhythmically as people repair fences, or carve handles, or prepare gardens. The sounds of life have become slower but richer. As days pass, people begin taking inventory of what truly matters. Tools that don't require power become prized. Buckets, axes, saws, rope, simple things once tucked away in garages now become essential. The world starts to resemble a living museum of old knowledge, as if the past has stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on the present. Some communities form small markets in open spaces, not for currency at first, but for barter. Eggs for vegetables, bread for tools, labor for labor. People rediscover the logic of exchange, not out of desperation, but out of a quiet understanding that life functions more smoothly when people support each other. Market stalls are simple, guided by sunlight, shaded by cloth or branches, and filled with goods that come from yards, gardens, nearby fields, or the hands of local craftsmen. In these markets, you might see children playing games invented on the spot, games that involve stones, sticks, chalk-like lines drawn on the ground, their imaginations filling the space once occupied by screens. They adapt quickly, far more easily than adults. They find joy in the new slowness of life, in the freedom of long days spent outdoors, in the companionship that comes naturally when the world encourages closeness instead of distraction. As time moves on, communication changes too. Without phones or computers or radios, information travels slowly, carried by people walking, cycling, or passing through. News spreads gradually, like the ripple of a pebble dropped in still water. Some of it is accurate, some distorted, some hopeful, but without the rapid pulse of instant updates. The world's mental tempo shifts. There is less urgency, less panic, less noise. And in that quiet, anxiety eases for many in unexpected ways. By the second week, nights have become one of the most beautiful parts of life. People gather outside to share stories, songs, or simple silence beneath the vast sky. The arc of the Milky Way becomes familiar. Shooting stars feel common. The constellations become old friends, their shapes learned through repetition rather than apps or diagrams. Night returns to its ancient role as a canvas for imagination, and with each passing evening, people begin to notice the patterns of the world more clearly. The way wind shifts in late afternoon, the sounds of animals moving at dusk, the shape of clouds hinting at weather changes. Without electricity, the natural world becomes the primary source of information, and people relearn how to read it. Some communities begin building shared fires in central places, not bonfires of celebration, but warm circles meant to gather people together. Tales, memories, and practical knowledge get passed around these fires. How to preserve food without refrigeration, how to build simple shelter, how to repair tools, how to navigate by the stars. The wisdom of older generations becomes invaluable, and for the first time in a long time, their voices feel like anchors in a shifting world. Meanwhile, in cities where life was once driven by relentless schedules and glowing screens, something else happens. The constant forward push slows. The pace of life becomes gentler, dictated by the cycle of daylight and the availability of simple resources. Rooftops become gardens, parks become farms. Office buildings become quiet landmarks, some used for shade, some repurposed into housing or communal spaces. The purpose of space itself begins to change. As transportation shifts to walking, bicycles, and occasional animal-drawn carts, people become more rooted in place. The idea of long-distance travel becomes rare, almost ceremonial. Journeys are planned with intention, taking days or weeks rather than hours. The world becomes larger again, not because it has grown, but because the speed of life has slowed to match the scale of human movement. And still, beneath all this adjustment, there remains a question that hums at the edge of awareness: will electricity ever return? But eventually, even that question begins to quiet. People find themselves more concerned with the present moment, with tending gardens, preparing meals, mending tools, sharing stories, caring for families. The absence of electricity becomes less of a crisis and more of a condition of existence, something accepted rather than resisted. Humanity begins to feel the shape of a different kind of life, one not worse or better than before, just slower, simpler, more tangible. You might imagine yourself looking at your own hands in this new world, dirt under the nails from planting, calluses forming from work, small scratches and marks that come from using your body instead of machines. There is a pride in this, a grounding, a sense of connection to what you create. And in this slower pace, relationships begin to deepen. Without constant distraction, conversations become longer, more meaningful. Families spend more time together, neighbors truly know each other, community bonds thicken until they feel like part of the structure of everyday life. As the weeks stretch into a month and then another, the world feels different yet somehow familiar, like stepping into a memory of humanity that had been forgotten but never truly lost. And though challenges remain, something inside people shifts from fear to adaptation, from confusion to creativity. It is here, in this new steady flow of life, that the world begins subtly imagining what the future might look like. Not a return to the past, not a recreation of the old world, but something built slowly, intentionally, with hands and hearts instead of wires and circuits. As weeks turn quietly into months, the memory of the modern world begins to feel like something distant, almost dreamlike. People still remember it, of course, the glow of streetlights, the hum of appliances, the ease of communication, the comfort of switching on heat or air with a simple gesture. But the emotional weight of those memories starts to soften, like the way a vivid dream gently dissolves upon waking. The mind adapts, slowly at first, then with surprising ease. Life without electricity becomes life itself, not an interruption of it. Daylight takes on a new importance. Mornings become sacred hours of opportunity. Afternoons become times of steady work. Evenings become gatherings and reflection. Nights become rest. The predictable cycle of the sun begins to reshape human behavior in a way most people never realized they had been resisting. And though the world feels changed, it also feels more aligned with the quiet rhythm of nature. You might imagine walking through a small town during one of these later mornings. The streets are no longer places for hurried travel, but slow-moving streams of activity. People walk past, carrying baskets, tools, bundles of wood. Some children help their families with chores, gathering water, tending gardens, sorting seeds. Others play games that involve running, climbing, laughing, using their bodies instead of their thumbs. They glow with the kind of energy that screens once dulled. Shops that once depended on electricity now use windows and open doors to let sunlight fill their spaces. Some become trading posts, others become workshops. The faint smell of sawdust, baked bread, leather, earth, and herbs drifts through the air. The town's soundtrack is made of soft conversation, the rhythm of tools, and the quiet hum of people simply living. In larger cities, communities have begun to cluster into smaller, self-sufficient groups. Neighborhoods become more like villages, each one developing its own routines. Apartment rooftops have turned into shared gardens. Courtyards have become communal kitchens. Once tall office buildings now feel like empty shells, slowly being reclaimed for sunlight, shade, storage, shelter, or simply standing quietly as monuments to a time that has slipped away. And in these clusters of life, leadership begins to emerge in gentle, unexpected forms, not through authority or formal systems, but through presence. The person who knows how to mend clothing, the one who understands herbal medicine, the older neighbor who remembers how to preserve fruits through canning or drying, the carpenter who can build a simple shelter with nothing more than wood and hand tools, the teacher who can keep children learning, curious, calm. All of these individuals, once scattered through society among countless roles, suddenly become central. They are not appointed, they are recognized. And this recognition breathes life into new communities that begin to feel grounded, connected, stable. Nights, too, have taken on new meaning. With darkness as a natural boundary, people gather closer. The glow of fire replaces the cold, distant gleam of screens. The flames flicker softly against faces, making everyone look a little younger, a little older, a little more human. Stories fill the air, stories of the old world, stories of the new one, stories invented on the spot to entertain children who now fall asleep on blankets spread across the grass. The stars overhead become a kind of companion. The vast spread of the Milky Way feels like a ceiling of ancient memory. Constellations help guide travel. The crescent moon is greeted with quiet appreciation, as though it's an old friend. The night sky no longer competes with artificial light. It becomes a central piece of the world. In rural areas, people have moved even more deeply into self-sufficiency. Fields that once grew crops for distant markets now feed local families. Tools are built to last, not to be replaced. Communities rotate responsibilities. Life becomes slower, steadier, but also more immediate. There is no buffer between effort and necessity. Work feels purposeful because it is essential. Structures built by hand stand sturdier because those building them know exactly why they matter. Months pass and something else becomes evident. Health patterns begin to shift. Without screens keeping people awake, sleep becomes deeper and longer. Without processed foods, diets become simpler, fresher, more natural. People move constantly throughout the day, walking, lifting, building, gathering, tending. Bodies strengthen in ways they hadn't for decades. The quiet absence of stress from constant digital noise begins to show its effects, softening faces, slowing heartbeats, calming minds that once jumped from alert to overwhelmed in an instant. Yet challenges remain, and they grow gently like clouds on a distant horizon. Hospitals adapt as best they can. They rely on sunlight, manual instruments, physical expertise rather than machines. Doctors and nurses lean on the skills that don't require power. Diagnosis by touch, by observation, by careful listening. Surgeries become rare, risky. Medicines are rationed. Some treatments simply become impossible. Communities respond by shifting their focus to prevention rather than intervention. Clean water, natural remedies, knowledge of illness patterns, nutrition. Rest, the very old and very young remain vulnerable, and though people do their best, loss becomes something faced with quiet resilience rather than unshakable certainty. Still, for many, the surprising truth begins to emerge. Life, while harder in some ways, has become richer in others. There is less noise, more presence, less haste, more intention, less disconnection, more togetherness. And slowly, humanity begins to rethink what progress means. People start journaling by daylight, recording what this new world feels like. Children ask questions about the old devices, their imaginations painting pictures of what electricity once allowed. Adults have long, thoughtful conversations about what the future should look like. Not just what is possible, but what is wise. The idea that every challenge must be solved with machines begins to fade. The idea that solutions can come from creativity, cooperation, and time begins to strengthen. Seasons begin to change. The first storms pass through with the sound of rain drumming on roofs made of metal, tile, wood, or thatch. Without electricity, storms become immersive experiences, raw, powerful, humbling. People sit together and listen to thunder roll across hills or through city streets, feeling its weight, its authority. Lightning, once taken for granted, becomes mesmerizing, an electric force surviving the disappearance of all human-harnessed versions of it. Its jagged flash turns night into momentary day, reminding everyone that some forms of power will always remain beyond human control. In the calm after storms, the world feels washed clean. Air smells fresher. The sky seems deeper. People step outside more slowly, as though respectful of the forces that move through their homes and streets. Nature feels present, not as a backdrop, but as a participant in life, and as months continue to pass, humanity settles deeper into this version of existence. Not resisting it, not running from it, but shaping itself around it. The world has become something quieter, something steadier, something older, and though many challenges lie ahead, people begin to feel a profound truth within themselves. That life does not depend solely on electricity. That humanity's core needs are simpler than the systems that once powered the world. The world without electricity is not the end of life. It is the return of life to a different kind of balance. And now, as the seasons unfold, as the months pass into a new cycle of warmth or cold, the story of this new world continues to deepen. People will adapt further, communities will grow stronger, traditions will form, and the meaning of progress will continue to shift softly, steadily, like the movement of clouds across a quiet, endless sky. As the first year without electricity passes quietly into the second, the world settles into a reality that, at one time, would have felt impossible. The glow of screens, the hum of power lines, all of these things have faded not just from daily life, but from memory's center. They now sit at the edges of collective recollection, like artifacts of a dream people woke from long ago. Children born just before the blackout grow up with faint memories of lights that came from nowhere, of voices that traveled through small glowing rectangles, of cars that moved without animals pulling them. But these memories feel more like stories to them now, stories they're no longer quite sure they lived. Children born after the new generation have no such memories at all. They grow up in a world where night is dark, where fire is warmth, where stars are companions, and where silence is not a void, but a space filled with life. Their days unfold gently, shaped by sunlight and the changing of seasons. They learn to tie knots, to read the sky, to recognize the calls of birds, to tell the time by the position of shadows. They move with a sense of confidence in the natural world that earlier generations never needed to develop. While adults adapt, the young simply absorb. They become fluent in a reality their parents once feared but have now learned to appreciate. Communities continue to deepen. People form small councils not because of laws or systems, but because collective responsibility feels natural. Decisions are made slowly, discussed around tables lit by candles or by afternoon sun. Arguments still happen. Of course, humanity remains itself, but they feel less like fractures and more like ripples that settle when people take time to breathe and listen. Trade routes form between towns and villages, not highways filled with trucks, but dirt paths walked by people carrying goods on backs, carts, wagons, bicycles repurposed for hauling. News travels with them, not instant but steady, as if the world has regained its sense of pace. No rush, no alarms, just steady exchange. The concept of distance changes too. A place that once felt only an hour away might now be a full day's walk or two. This doesn't discourage people. It simply changes how they think about journeys. Travel becomes purposeful, intentional. When people go somewhere now, it matters. They stay longer. They help more. They savor the experience rather than rushing back home because a schedule demands it. As years continue to pass, nature moves into the empty spaces left behind by machines. Fields once illuminated by sodium streetlights now bloom with wildflowers. Forests begin to return to the edges of suburbs. Birds nest in the quiet rafters of buildings that no longer buzz with electricity. Rivers run clearer without constant industrial runoff. Air carries fewer traces of exhaust, fewer chemicals, fewer fumes. The natural world breathes more freely. Animals venture closer to human settlements than they used to. Deer wander through abandoned parking lots. Foxes trot along what were once busy roads. Hawks perch atop quiet street lamps. The boundaries between human spaces and wild spaces soften, blending gently into one another, the way ink bleeds into water. Homes transform as well. The parts of houses once designed around outlets, screens, and appliances are repurposed. Living rooms become spaces for tools or crafts. Garages become small workshops. Basements become root cellars, cool and quiet storage for preserved foods. Backyards grow rows of vegetables, herbs, fruit trees, beehives. Roofs collect rainwater. Windows are enlarged to let in as much daylight as possible, and people begin creating again, not digital creations, but tangible ones. Music played on instruments built by hand, songs shared by groups instead of streamed online. Art carved from wood or shaped from clay or painted with pigments made from earth. Stories told aloud, weaving one generation into the next. These acts of creation echo something ancient, a part of human nature that existed long before electricity and continues long after it. Love, too, changes its shape without online profiles or messages or endless distractions. Relationships form slowly through proximity, shared work, long conversations, or mutual learning. They feel grounded, rooted in the daily fabric of life rather than in curated versions of it. Bonds deepen because time is no longer fragmented into notifications and schedules. Yet life is not idyllic in every way. Challenges remain, and they grow more complex as the years unfold. Medicine, always stretched without refrigeration and machines, becomes an art of ingenuity relying on natural remedies, careful observation, and preventative care. Birth becomes an event handled with great reverence and support. Illnesses that were once minor become serious. People face these trials with a mixture of fear and acceptance, leaning on community, on shared responsibility, on quiet resilience. But perhaps the greatest shift happens in the realm of identity. For generations, people defined themselves through digital footprints, through productivity, through work, through curated images and messages. Now, identity becomes something lived, not performed. People become known by their presence, their skills, their kindness, their voice, their patience, their contribution to the community. Something about this feels more human, more honest. And as the world enters its 5th, 7th year without electricity, something remarkable takes place. People begin to look back, not with longing for what was lost, but with clarity about what was gained. They still miss certain comforts: the ease of medicine, the warmth of heaters on cold nights, the bright safety of electric light in dark hours. But they also recognize what the world had forgotten: the value of slowness, the beauty of darkness, the importance of connection, the meaning found in handwork, the quiet miracle of simply being alive. Communities thrive in small, interconnected webs. Knowledge becomes precious. Books become treasures. Skills become currency. And the world settles into a humbler, quieter version of itself. Not broken, not defeated, just transformed. You might imagine yourself sitting outside one evening many years after electricity's disappearance. The air is cool, leaves rustle softly. A fire crackles nearby. People sit with you, friends or family or neighbors, their faces illuminated gently by the glow. Someone tells a story, someone else hums a tune. The sky stretches endlessly, full of stars older than everything humans ever built. In this moment, you realize that humanity has not collapsed. It has adapted. It has found a new shape, and the future, though uncertain, feels calm, steady, and quietly hopeful. As more years pass, the world that once depended on electricity becomes something remembered, but no longer mourned. It becomes a story told around fires, a tale of a world that moved too fast, burned too brightly, and hummed with a constant invisible energy that most people forgot to appreciate until it vanished. Children listen with wide eyes as adults describe lights that turned on with a flick of the hand, machines that kept food cold, devices that could speak across oceans. To them, these things sound like magic, impossible, extravagant, almost unbelievable, and in a way, they are right. Electricity was a kind of magic, a force harnessed, controlled, tamed just enough to power entire civilizations. But looking back from this quieter world, people begin to understand that electricity was never the only path forward. It was simply one version of a story humanity told itself. A bright, fast, ambitious version, and now, without it, a new story has unfolded. Softer, slower, earthbound. The world has grown smaller but richer. The pace of life, once driven by deadlines and screens and constant information, now moves with the steady pulse of nature. The warmth of human voices carries farther. The weight of silence is lighter. The meaning of a day is measured in what you touch, what you build, what you tend, not in what you scroll through or consume. You might imagine a late summer evening in this electricity-less world. The air is warm, smelling faintly of soil and grass and wood smoke. Fireflies drift like tiny wandering stars above the fields. People gather outside not because they have nothing to do, but because the world invites them to be present. A group sits near the edge of a forest, listening to the distant calls of owls. Someone tells a story passed down from before the blackout. It becomes clear that stories are no longer merely entertainment. They are a kind of thread that ties generations together. Along the coast, fishing communities live by the rhythm of tides and moonlight. Boats push off at dawn, guided by stars that sailors once ignored. People move between valleys trading wool, metalwork, herbs, knowledge. In the plains, communities farm cooperatively, sharing harvests, skills, and celebration. Everywhere, the human world has shifted from a landscape of individuals to a tapestry of interdependence. And although the hardships are real, winter's colder, summer's harder, illnesses more complicated, people have grown strong in ways the old world didn't require. They lean on each other. They watch over each other. They are present in a way that once felt impossible. There are moments of grief, too, memories of lost technologies, lost people whose lives depended on machines that no longer function. People remember studio apartments warmed by electric heaters, concerts with thousands of lights, holidays marked by glowing decorations. The memory of those things carries sadness, yes, but also gratitude. Gratitude for having lived in a world that experienced such brilliance. Even if fleeting, in time, curiosity blooms again. Not the kind fueled by blinking monitors or high-speed data, but curiosity rooted in the world itself. Children grow up asking how seeds sprout, how wind shapes clouds, why birds migrate. Adults experiment with new methods of preserving food, new ways of building shelter, new systems of community organization. Innovation doesn't stop. It simply changes shape, becoming more grounded, more deliberate, more respectful of the limits of nature. The world becomes a quieter kind of intelligent, and one night, a cool autumn evening, you might find yourself sitting alone on a hill overlooking a valley. The sky above is so impossibly clear that the stars almost seem to hum. A faint breeze brushes against your face. The world around you is still but not silent. Insects whisper, leaves shift. A distant waterfall sighs somewhere in the forest. It's in this moment that you realize how profoundly life has changed and how much beauty has emerged from the ash of what once was. Electricity gave humanity reach. Its disappearance gave humanity roots. And perhaps, in the softest possible way, both were needed. The reach to imagine a different future, the roots to understand what truly sustains life. As the night deepens, the valley fades into silhouette and the stars brighten above you. The world feels vast, but peaceful, mysterious, but gentle. And you understand, in a quiet way, that humanity has endured the loss of something immense and rediscovered something even older. People will continue adapting. New generations will learn skills their ancestors forgot. Communities will evolve. Nature will breathe. And somewhere, in the distant echo of memory, the world that once glowed with electric light will remain a story, told softly at dusk, a reminder of how humanity once lived and how it changed. As this long journey through an electricity-less world comes to an end, you can let your mind rest. Allow yourself to drift into the calm that rises when you imagine a world moving slowly, breathing deeply, living simply. A world where night is truly dark, where stars are truly bright, and where human connection glows warmer than any man-made light ever could. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight, in this quiet exploration of what humanity might become without the invisible current that once powered everything. Wherever you are, however your day has been, I hope this story brought you a sense of calm, a sense of wonder, and a sense of peace. Settle in, breathe softly, and let the world fade gently around you. Sleep well.